Hey everybody, I'm Joshua.
And I'm Caleb.
And well, that demonic structure behind us, that's Stonehenge. Let's figure out what happened with this thing.
Genesis 6:4. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Josh, it's time to wake up. We're about to land.
Oh, I just had the weirdest dream. I had a dream that you wanted to shoot an entire series about the Nephilim, all the jacked up stuff that those guys did. Like all these locations around the world throughout history. And when you dragged me there, I had to go to all these places. Oh, if you would never do that to me, that'd be so messed up.
I would never take you to all the demonic high places around the world to teach our audience about the return of the Nephilim.
Brother, why do I smell fish and chips? No, brother.
Oh, man. Our upcoming series, Return of the Nephilim, is going to be a globe-trotting epic. You will not believe the things we are going to teach and uncover. But we need to take some baby steps by first visiting Stonehenge, the most iconic megalith site linked with the Nephilim on the planet. But first, we gotta figure out how to drive on the wrong side of the road.
I love their British cars.
Just like to say that somebody in the colonies heard from God when they abandoned this country, because we've been here like 7 minutes and almost died like 100 times. Not to mention that it took 4 hours to get a car that was at the airport rental facility. So yeah, it took 3 of us collectively to not be able to figure out how to turn on the air conditioning.
Trying to figure out new road signs while driving on the wrong side of the street and keeping track of your GPS was just too much. Especially when a 2-lane road suddenly became a 1-lane road, guarded on either side by giant cement barriers. What's wrong with you, English? Do you really want us to play a game of chicken? It was insanity, which led to our first tire blowout. After a 3-hour wait for a replacement, we finally got back on the road, and that's when it was time for me to drive. Well, guys, we have a very special episode for you. This is not just a one-off, this is a setup to a very important trip that we had, where we went to Greece, Jordan, Israel, with a very important message. A new series called Return of the Nephilim. This is all about that hybrid demon spawn when the fallen angels came down and mated with the daughters of men and created these monstrosities that went around doing terrible things on this earth, and God had to send a flood to wipe them out. But there's more to it than that. There's so many details, so much.
Oh, fish and chips. Oh, there. Take a right, quick.
Josh, I'm trying to give an amazing setup to our journey to Stonehenge. There, I said it. Just ruined it. It was really cool. Everybody would have loved it. Yes, we're going to Stonehenge, the most iconic megalith structure in the entire world, to set up why it's important that we should tell the story of the Nephilim.
We're not going to Stonehenge. We're going to get fish and chips. Because I can't look at a megalith or an Nephilim or anything unless I've eaten.
Fine. Well, we'll get some fish and chips. Then we're going to go see some demon monuments.
Man, always with the demons and abominations and monumental, chips, fish. This should have been a wake-up call to my brother. We've literally just started our search for Nephilim, and we've already blown out 1 tire. Who decided to visit the most holy druid pagan site on the planet on the most unholy day of its year, which would be their holiest day of the year, which makes it completely satanic? Why do you do it? Soft win. More like we lose. You know, the day after All Hallows Eve. I don't know, finally we make it to Stonehenge. It's after sunset. There are dozens of campers full of druids, wannabe druids, and people who like pretend to be druids and fight on the side of the road with their magic staffs and their charms, and they're selling all kinds of things like newts, and they turned me into a newt, but then I got better. I don't want to be here.
Well, we packed it up and decided to head to Wales for the evening. Of course, I'm driving again, and less than 5 minutes after we leave Stonehenge, we hear another troubling sound. Well, hey everybody, I'm Joshua.
I'm Caleb.
And I'm Hershey.
As you know, we love coming to you from vans. Vans typically that shield us from the transmission locators of various and nefarious peoples who would try to stop us from reaching you with the truth. We have done so in our Faraday van many times, and we know you love it. This message from a van is a different kind of message. It's called an SOS. Help. We were located. Our van has been taken out. I am not joking. We are stranded in the middle of the UK,
Nowhere.
trying to bring you the message of truth. Yeah.
We made it.
No, we did not.
We did make it.
We got our tire fixed. We made it away from the side of the road, but we had to abandon our plan. We did not make it to our original hotel.
That is true.
We had to go to someplace much closer because I am too tired to drive 3 more hours.
Well,
Thank you very much for praying for us.
we thank you so much.
We are alive. I will wake up tomorrow and we'll figure out what goes on next.
New plans tomorrow. Thank you for your prayers.
Yesterday was our first day in the UK, and boy, was it a doozy. Don't think you're gonna make plans if you're not gonna be flexible with them.
Things didn't go out as planned. This was like our really first wash of a film shoot for a single day ever. But we're gonna strike back, just like the Empire strikes back sometime.
Don't know if you should reference the bad guys striking back, because they did that yesterday. We got a rental vehicle. Within an hour, we blew a tire. It wasn't possible to get another tire without God's intervention. That took a while. Then we got on the road. We started driving to Stonehenge. Guess what? No, sir. Blow another tire. Stranded on the side of the road for 5 hours, waiting for a tire to be delivered. Did we film Stonehenge? No, we did not. Did we film anything else? No, we did not. Did we sit on the English countryside for most of the day in the dark, hoping that our little bit of gasoline didn't run out? Yes, we did.
Well, we did find a hotel nearby last night. It just happened to be a sun-worshiping summer solstice hotel. As you can see with this sun-worshiping dude behind us, imagery of Stonehenge everywhere. We couldn't see in the dark. Don't blame us, guys. We didn't know it was a pagan druid hotel. Only one in the area, but we're gonna get it all done today because God is behind us and those demonic spirits will not succeed.
Well, technically, the sun god's behind us, but our God is before us
Yes.
because we put him back there because he's really weird.
Bye-bye.
Get out of here.
Deuteronomy 12, 2-3. Destroy completely all the places on the high mountains, on the hills, and under every spreading tree, where the nations you are dispossessing worship their gods. Break down their altars, smash their sacred stones, and burn their Asherah poles in the fire. Cut down the idols of their gods and wipe out their names from those places.
You know, growing up, I was waiting for this moment for such a long time. A lot of people want to come here. They have mixed reasons for why they want to see this, but I've loved Salisbury steak my entire life, and I wanted to know the origins of where my favorite dinner dish was from. We're here in Salisbury.
Okay. That actually worked, so yeah.
Yeah, Salisbury, England. But behind us, other people like to see that thing called Stonehenge. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of henge. It's just like this earth mound that's kind of circular, and then people go in there and they put moats around it or dig ditches and they put wood carvings and structures. And I mean, this one dates back to the prehistoric or Neolithic period if you're looking at secular dating things. And then people do a lot of really weird, naughty things, and it's not my favorite, but we're here to talk about it, and we can do the steak on another episode.
Thank you, Josh. Well, in the countryside around Stonehenge, there's numerous mounds. You see these
earth-made mounds behind us with grass. They're called tumuli or kurgans. You know, they're man-made structures that are burial places for the dead, sacred places, places where rituals and ceremonies were kept. You know, some of them, they have little tunnels where you can go into there to perform ceremonies. Some are just completely buried in dirt. You also have what's called dolmens around here, megalith rock structures, singular rooms that are tombs inside. There's a lot of those in Israel. But all these places, they weren't just meant to be, you know, like gravestones, but they're really places for mystic ceremonies to be performed, ancestor worship, worship of celestial heavens, mystic rites, all this stuff. Gnarly, the stuff that God told the Israelites not to do, but they're doing it here, so.
So yeah, so last chance, if you really want to just get into that, you know, keep going. Or if you click on the link for my Salisbury episode, then you're going to get a much better experience.
All right.
Much less pagan.
Oh, yeah. That's the stuff.
Bearded Bible Bonanza.
Hello, brother.
Hello.
Okay, guys, join Bearded Bible Bonanza. It's an exclusive paywall content site that helps support the ministry, and you get a lot of cool extra stuff like never before seen interviews, exclusive behind the scenes looks, and long lost solo content that hasn't been heard for decades. Please join us at patreon.com/Bearded Bible Bonanza.
It's one of the slashes. See you there.
Deuteronomy 4:19, and take heed, lest you lift your eyes to heaven, and when you see the sun, the moon, and the stars, all the hosts of heaven, you feel driven to worship them and serve them, which the Lord your God has given to all the peoples under the whole heaven as a heritage. Look at those rings of concentric circles. You have the Saracen standing stones on the outside, 13 feet tall, 7 feet wide, 25 tons each. Some of them have a lintel stone on the top, connecting them together, making them look like a house. Now the inner stones, those are megalith blue stones, trilithon megalith blue stones. They come from a different location. We'll go into that in a minute. But this was definitely a cultic site for those Druid Celts. But they weren't the ones who built it. You know, it was built way earlier than them by a civilization with unknown motives, and the only thing they left behind were these monuments to their ancestors or the celestial heaven gods that they worshipped.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, you know, some people think that you can use this kind of to follow the planets, right? Orbits, that you can look at it for all kinds of celestial charting. People have been using this to predict things like sunsets and sunrises and equinoxes and all the stuff.
Eclipses
too.
Yeah.
We know that it's aligned in a way that in the summer you can see the sunrise at the summer solstice through there, and in the winter solstice you can see the sunset, and that when you go in there the structures are aligned so that they have the perfect view of their sweet, sweet gods that they can worship during their practices and not have any encumberment.
Definitely connected with astrology.
Lame.
Isaiah 47:13 through 14. All the counsel you have received has only worn you out. Let your astrologers come forward, those stargazers who make predictions month by month. Let them save you from what is coming upon you. Surely they are like stubble. The fire will burn them up. Now, Stonehenge isn't the largest henge structure in the area. The largest in the world is 17 miles north of here in Avebury. It is 28 acres, Josh. It's so huge, they didn't know for many centuries that it was a henge until they flew over it. Just like the Nazca lines in Peru, you can only see the immense size during those situations. It's like they're trying to get the attention of the celestial beings in heaven, I think. You know, someone up above who could see what it looks like down there.
That's pretty crazy. I mean, right now with what you can see, that's only about 35% of the original structure due to things being ruined, covered up over time. And we know that this began being built over 4,000 years ago.
That's what they say.
And then over a 1,500-year time period. So it wasn't just done at once, it was added on to and this and that. And if you think about that dating, that's older than the pyramids. But we're gonna take a look biblically at if this shows up and what it says about it.
1 Samuel 15:23, for rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as idolatry and teraphim. So the Druids operated in open witchcraft here, as well as the ancestors whoever built this area of Stonehenge. In fact, There's a lot that went on here. They were doing excavations recently around Stonehenge, and they found that there were thousands of cremated bodies. Literally, I believe, human sacrifices in pits around Stonehenge. This dates back to 4,000 years ago. This territory was the largest cemetery in all Great Britain because of the burial mounds like you just saw over here, all these ancient pagan places where the dead were buried and ancestor worship occurred. This is a pretty gnarly spot.
You know, it kind of reminds me of all of those hundreds of burial grounds that we found at Gilgal-Rephaim in Israel and the Golan Heights. Let me just tell you, that sucker is massive. And it's named after King Og. What was the name of it again?
King Og of Bashan. He was a giant king. The Circle of Og.
Circle of Og, that's what it was. And boy, was it a circle. I remember flying the drone over the top of it. And it was like you were saying about that other site. You have to literally get so high above it to see the symmetry of the design. It's incredible that anybody ever created that from the ground. You're gonna see that in an upcoming episode of Return of the Nephilim in the new series we have coming out, which is amazing. But now researchers are wondering, was this really designed for an astronomical calendar, or was it designed to pay homage or to worship the ancients that died here? Because we see so many burial spots, and we see that those stones were cut with axes instead, which all points to maybe this is more burial focused than it is predicting the stars focus.
Well, yeah, I believe it's probably both. But you see in scripture, there's a term in Hebrew that's used for ancestor worship. It's called teraphim. It was associated with idolatry because they took objects, altars, things to represent their forefathers, and they placed it in their home to offer incense and sacrifice and stuff. And God said it is idolatry, it is pagan, it is worshiping spirits even though your ancestors are dead. And in scripture, Rachel and Laban had a crutch for this, you know. Rachel messed up. In fact, her death was linked to taking those gods from Laban and hiding them under her tent. So it was obviously it was a very gnarly practice, but even today you see many cultures that still practice it. The Native Americans practice it. Obviously the Canaanites and the Israelites fell prey to it. Even Catholics and modern religions, they participate in the Day of the Dead. They light candles for their dead ancestors. They think to free their spirits of their ancestors, they have to perform all these weird ceremonies, and they mix it with Catholicism. And God said, don't do this. This is wrong.
It's real bad. So we don't. Ditches and banks and circles and hinges. Oh my, this north countryside is riddled with it. Some man-made, others not. Yeah. They align with the stars. It all points to this age-old fact. Demons love geometric shapes. I don't know what it is, but they are not a fan of asymmetry. I don't know if they like zapped anything with asymmetry, but they do. We're gonna get onto that later because there's actually a real explanation for it, but.
I agree. Well, not far from here, north of here, is Silbury Hill. It is the second largest man-made mound in all of Europe. This is a very important mound because its volume rivals that of the Egyptian pyramids. It's literally the same. But in discovering this man-made structure that was built, they saw that it was built originally like a ziggurat with stepped layers going up to the top. Why is this important? Because this links back to this ziggurat, the original one at the Tower of Babel. You know, in 2100 BC, at the dispersion of Babel, the languages were scattered, and then of course the rebels and the Nephilim were scattered, and they ended up coming here to build these structures. And they followed the directions basically of Nimrod, who had them build that first ziggurat. But why is the ziggurat important? Because as Nimrod started the first religion of idolatry, the worship of the celestial heavens, and him and his wife, you know, Semiramis, they put temples on top of these ziggurats, and they were called Mountain of the Gods. They were meant to mirror or counterfeit the original Mountain of God that connected earth to heaven. And this is very important. It's called Mount of Congregation in scripture, and El Elyon, the Most High God, sat upon the Mount of Congregation. So Satan was merely counterfeiting this. This is a very important point to the story that we're going to go into deeper with in Return of the Nephilim. But that just proves that they followed the command all the way back to Mesopotamia, and they came here and scattered and just did the same kind of building projects that Nimrod had them begin with.
I want to add a point to this, okay? Because we as human beings see these structures and we're somewhat in awe, partly because we don't know how it all happened, and other because it's just out here in the middle of nowhere. But actually, I look at this because Satan can't create anything, right? So here's Satan, and he saw all the stuff God made, ooh, shiny, and then he's like, I know, I will make prettier ones than God. And so then he made these. But it's like if you saw me in the Sistine Chapel and I had a piece of paper and I was looking up and I was drawing a stick man of God and a stick man of Adam's finger. I'll put it on the screen. That's exactly how terrible this is compared to God's work.
Definitely not as cool.
And the question on everybody's mind, was Stonehenge built by Jeff Bezos or by Elon Musk? The answer is neither. This sucker is old. But the question really you should ask is, what is it made out of? That's how we can find where it came from. All right, the blue stone on the inside of the hinge, it only comes from one place, the Prestley Mountains, about 180 miles away from here in Western Wales. However, recent discoveries found about 466 miles away in Scotland, they found some more of these things. The problem is, there is no way to get stones this big through valleys and mountains and hills and rivers. And how did it get here?
Yep. So people want to know how it was built. Some believe that aliens or the gods helped in the construction. In fact, an ancient document from the 12th century called History of the Kings of Britain details that giants actually did help construct this. That they originally on Mount Killaris in Ireland built this giant's ring, and that eventually, with the help of Merlin and Uther Pendragon, King Arthur's father, had moved it from that Mount Killaris, where they reconstructed it here. And so these legends keep on going back, you know, throughout time, that there's always giants connected with building these structures. As we mentioned, last night or yesterday was the Feast of Samhain, one of the greatest pagan high holy days for satanic rituals and evil throughout time. And before that is All Hallows Eve. You know what that is, Halloween. And so when we literally came here, yes, Druids were camped out in their campers. They're still here because they like to perform ceremonies on these holy days to honor Samhain, which is really Lucifer, Satan. And we're gonna have to go into more of that when we get to Ireland, Josh. But you know, these stories show that Satan has his hands in everything. He tries to mess with everything, but we are not to be deceived. Whether it was Celtic, Gaelic, Druid, or Nimrod who constructed all these things, it's all to get glory and honor for themselves and pull it away from God, the Most High God.
It doesn't matter what you rename them to. You can have all the fancy names, even if it's called K-pop Demon Slayer. It's still the devil.
So I think it's time, Josh, to actually head to Ireland to find more of these megalith structures that were built by Nephilim and really dig deeper into the story of how Nephilim came as far here to the ends of the earth.
Are we gonna see any?
Maybe.
Sweet. I will not worship them.
Deuteronomy 2:20-21, of Rabbath Ammon. That was also regarded as the land of giants. Giants formerly dwelt there, but the Ammonites called them Zamzamim, a people as great and numerous and tall as the Anakim. But the Lord destroyed them before them, the Ammonites, and they dispossessed them and dwelt in their place. Well, this is what Ireland is all about, Josh. Look at this.
Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland.
We're at the furthest northern tip of Northern Ireland, and all around us you see these amazing geometric shapes. We're at the Giant's Causeway. It's called Giant's Causeway for a reason. You know, after the dispersion of Babel, more giants spread out, covered the face of the earth, you know, after the scattering of languages. And there's so many legends and evidence of giants having come here to Ireland, having done terrible things here, of course. And the legend carries on. Even Belfast is motto and their kind of mascot is a giant, you know?
I'll tell you, this if anything looks like the Fortress of Solitude by Superman in the good one, the one with Chris Reeves. These geometric shapes can be 7, 8, 9-sided figures. Some of them as tall as 39 feet. And there's just, how many of them? There's 40,000 of them that are just littered throughout this area right here. It's incredible. Obviously, we know that tectonic activity can cause that. Yeah. We know that the researchers think, oh, it's 60 million years old and all these different things. And we have seen mountains created through volcanic eruptions and stuff like this.
Yeah.
But this is reminiscent, I would think, of a different specific activity.
Well, that's absolutely true. After or during the flood, there was volcanic activity, tectonic plates crashing together and pushing up. And they say, you know, the basalt columns is what it is. When they were pushed up out of the water and then they dried, they cracked and formed these shapes. It's kind of hard to imagine that this was, you know, formed from some volcanic activity. But that did happen after a flood and left around a lot of interesting designs and shapes. But there's a legend that happened here, Josh, linked with a giant that I find most interesting, which is why we came here.
Ooh. Is it just a story about us because we're taller, or is it actual giant?
Oh, just wait and see. Romans 1:25. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshiped and served created things rather than the Creator. All right, here's where the giants come in, Josh. The infamous or famous Finn McCool, the protector of Ireland. This giant was known to reside in these parts. And there was another giant in Scotland that was in conflict with him. Benadonner was this other giant. And there's many different legends of this story that Finn McCool and Benadonner, they challenged each other to a match. And that giant built a causeway, this bridge that went from Scotland all the way down here, the island of Staffa, and they were going to meet in the middle and fight. And eventually Finn notices that he's a much bigger giant than himself. In one version, he does defeat him, but in the other version, he's a bigger giant. He goes back home and he hides. He tells his wife, the giant wife, hide me. He dresses himself like a baby. And then when Benadonner comes, he looks at him and he sees this giant baby. He's like, oh man, the father must be way bigger than this baby because this baby's huge. He runs back to Scotland, destroying the bridge in the process of Causeway. And that's why you have the ruins of a bridge that you see today. And literally, if you cross all the way to Scotland, the island of Staffa, there is the same geometric shapes, these hexagons of the causeway on the other end, which is why people came up with the legend, that the giant destroyed the bridge that came across it. And there's more Finn McCool stuff we'll talk about in Ireland, but this is just a magnificent, very strange place.
Yeah, it is.
Very strong.
And apparently strong enough winds to move my 310-pound self.
Woo!
Next week on the Bearded Bible Brothers.
I'm gonna say something that's gonna offend all you. It's gonna offend all of you.
This is gonna cost us.
If he's in one of these demon holes, I'm done. Giannis is getting a demon burial hole, but he was in the demon burial hole.
Behind me is the infamous Tomb of the Hostages. This site is the most important site, along with Leofal, the Stone of Destiny, in all of Gaelic mythology.
What was Ireland known for at this point? It was known for pagan worship. All the ways you could do it, right? The megaliths, the cairns, the mounds, any way that you could worship something evil, they did it here. So, welcome.
Did you know the Bearded Bible Brothers is an outreach of Zola Levitt Ministries? That means we are entirely donor funded. Consider giving at levitt.com. You can also join the Bearded Bible Bonanza to access additional content at patreon.com/beardedbiblebonanza. Please support our mission to spread the gospel of Yeshua by subscribing to our social media and sharing our online messages. And as always, pray for the peace of Jerusalem.